An Edmonton gay bar welcomes children to attend with their parents, while the Toronto Pride Parade sees sponsors drop support for the vile celebration. Thanks to our corrupt courts, a lawsuit against Freedom Convoy organizers by citizens of Ottawa has been allowed to advance. Our federal government wastes billions of our tax dollars on overseas initiatives, from woke DEI programs to helping fund leaders with clear terrorist connections. The Liberal government downplays Jihad, while Toronto police are thankful for the increased interest in Islam since the October 7th attacks on Israel. Our goal, as always, is to bring you news, culture, and politics from a distinctly Christian, conservative, and Canadian perspective. It's March 18th. I'm Andrew DeBartolo. This is Liberty Dispatch News Brief.
Attention all you salespeople, account executives, and entrepreneurs. You're probably driving from one client meeting to another right now. That's why you need SalesNexus. SalesNexus lets you automate everything except the one thing you're great at, building relationships with customers. Do more of that. Grow sales faster. Build customer relationships that put your kids through college. SalesNexus will automate emails and text messages while you're closing deals. SalesNexus is the salesperson's best friend. Try SalesNexus free for 30 days at salesnexus.com.
Are you looking to take control of your investments and align them with your Christian values? At ROCKLINC Investment Partners, they build customized portfolios tailored to your specific needs, all while promoting transparency and integrity. As a privately managed investment firm operated by Christians with a conservative worldview, ROCKLINC stands apart by helping you grow your wealth without compromising your beliefs. Visit rocklinc.com or email them at info@rocklinc.com and discover how they can help you steward your finances wisely. ROCKLINC Investment Partners. Integrity-driven, values-aligned, and built for you. The LGBTQ2AI+ beast continues to make a play on children, this time taking action in Edmonton. This is from Juno News. Quote, an Edmonton gay dance bar says children will soon be welcome as part of its spring expansion. Evolution Wonder Lounge in downtown Edmonton announced an overhaul that includes jukeboxes, karaoke, daily happy hour, and an invitation to bring your kids till 9. Every restaurant in the city allows parents to have an alcoholic beverage while enjoying something to eat with their kids, a spokesperson said. Evolution Wonder Lounge touts itself as the only club serving the 2S LGBTQ+ community year-round. This decision from the bar to open the door to children in an environment emphasizing sexual identity and orientation is part of a trend of 2S LGBTQI+ programs and business targeting the youth demographic, close quote. So remember, no matter how much they try to gaslight you, and no matter how many defamation cases they win, these sexual deviants are trying to groom your children and desensitize them to sexually explicit content in order to make them more accepting of all manner of vile sexual practices from an early age. And yet, some companies, for whatever reasons, have pulled back support for these queer colonizers. Take this story from Rebel News. Quote, over the past 2 months, 3 major sponsors of Toronto's annual Pride Festival have pulled out, according to reporting from the Globe and Mail. While automaker Nissan Canada confirmed last week that it was one of the 3 companies to withdraw, Executive Director at Pride Toronto, Kojo Modeste, told the Globe he wouldn't yet identify the other 2 companies because there are still hopes they could return as sponsors. While none of the companies who have withdrawn their sponsorships have cited DEI backlash as the reason, Mr. Modeste believes it's playing a factor. A lot of the companies have made public statements, either on their website or otherwise, around moving away from DEI initiatives, he said. Close quote. Eventually, truth wins the day, and darkness can only hide so long from the truth. During the Freedom Convoy, several citizens of Ottawa threw projectiles at truckers, hurled insults and cursing at protesters, and lied about and slandered them often. Well, these same citizens filed a lawsuit against Convoy organizers and protesters, and our corrupt Canadian courts uphold that lawsuit. This is from the Western Standard. Quote, an Ontario Court of Appeal ruled Thursday that a $290 million lawsuit filed by Ottawa residents against the Freedom Convoy organizers should proceed. Blacklock's reporter says the court rejected an attempt by protest leaders to dismiss the case, which alleges public nuisance and psychological distress. Any determination on the merits patently will require a deep dive into the evidence and the making of extensive findings of credibility, wrote Justice David Brown. The lawsuit, which is yet to be certified as a class action, will now move forward in the legal system. The court emphasized that while the Charter of Rights and Freedoms protects individual liberties and political expression, these freedoms must be balanced with their effects on the broader community. The lead plaintiff, Zexi Lee, a federal employee and downtown Ottawa resident, initially described being physically intimidated by demonstrators during the protest. However, in 2022 testimony before the Public Order Emergency Commission, she stated, "I didn't feel safe, but it's hard to describe it as unsafe," close quote. It's worth noting that Zexi Lee is a data analyst for Shared Services Canada, a federal government department. In other words, she is a statist who obeys her master, Big Brother, and ultimately hates the idea of free Canadians standing up to her daddy boss and living in the freedom she both despises and has willingly given up. So there is that. Separating money from the state is a core tenet of Bitcoin's ethos, a permissionless network where the individual is in full control and accountable for his own property. Bull Bitcoin, Canada's most trusted exchange since 2013, is built around this ethos and leverages it in its mission to end central banks forever. At Bull Bitcoin, where security and privacy are priority, they take it upon themselves to help empower individuals with the most potent form of money the world has ever known. Head to mission.bullbitcoin.com/dispatch today and get started with your account's creation. Contact Bull's best-in-the-business customer support team at any point throughout the process to request assistance. Mission.bullbitcoin.com/dispatch. Take control of your money. It's no surprise that our federal government wastes millions, if not billions, of our tax dollars on evil DEI and woke initiatives and programs here in Canada designed to destroy our cultural fabric and advance sexual sins. It might surprise you to know that they also waste our money on overseas DEI and woke projects as well. This is from the Post-Millennial. Quote, the Canadian government has spent more than $11 billion on gender-related initiatives overseas over the past 10 years, with funds directed toward projects focused on gender equality and women's empowerment under the Feminist International Assistance Policy. According to the Western Standard, this figure represents a conservative estimate, as it accounts only for gender-targeted aid and does not reflect the full scope of gender-related projects, which could total billions more, close quote. It's not just the woke stuff. No, we send money to ease sanctions on countries that have leaders with terrorist connections, because if there's one thing our elected officials hate, it's freedom and Canadian interests. This is from the Counter-Signal. Quote, the Liberal government is sending $84 million in taxpayer funds to Syria and easing sanctions on the country's interim government, which is led by the head of a designated terrorist organization. Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly and International Development Minister Ahmed Hussein unveiled the decision on Thursday, describing the measures as aiding Syria's transition to an inclusive and peaceful future. Despite ongoing sectarian violence and mass killings targeting the country's Alawite minority by forces loyal to the current government led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a group designated as a terrorist entity in Canada, the Liberal government is suspending sanctions for 6 months under what it calls a Special Economic Measures Permit Authorization Order. As part of today's announcement, Canada is providing $84 million in new funding for humanitarian assistance to Syria. Canada is also taking steps to ease existing sanctions for a period of 6 months to support democratization, stabilization, and the delivery of aid to and within Syria during this period of transition, a government press release reads. Yet, concerns are growing that Canada's actions amount to legitimizing an administration led by a group with long-standing terrorist ties. HTS remains a designated terrorist entity in Canada, having been blacklisted in 2013 when it was still an al-Qaeda proxy, close quote. I'm so glad that eggs are expensive and housing is unattainable so that terrorists can get help from the Canadian government. If you remember during the pro-Hamas, pro-Israeli genocide riots in Canada, Toronto police were bringing protesters Tim Hortons coffee and donuts, which is terrible, by the way, while they were blocking roadways, of course. Well, it turns out that both Toronto police in particular, and really the Canadian government in general, continues to be very soft on a worldview that is literally hell-bent on destroying both Canada and Western civilization through jihad. These stories are from Juno News and the Post-Millennial. Quote, the Liberal-appointed Islamophobia representative has released a guide that downplays extreme Islamist jihad and attributes anti-Muslim sentiments to Canada's colonialism. Spearheaded by Trudeau's special representative on combating Islamophobia, Amira El-Gawabi, a 60-page guide is titled The Canadian Guide to Understanding and Combating Islamophobia for a More Inclusive Canada. The guide attempts to redefine the concept of jihad, portraying it as a metaphorical personal struggle rather than acknowledging its historical use by Islamists to perpetuate violence in places such as Syria and the Congo, which have seen anti-Christian massacres by Sunni Islamist terrorists in recent weeks. Recently, it was revealed that the Toronto Police Service has implemented a mandatory training course on the foundations of Islam and how to combat Islamophobia. The force's Muslim liaison officers played a role in advocating for the training. Those same officers were featured on the Toronto Police Service's official podcast, where they described the growing interest in Islam following the events of October 7, 2023, as a positive development. Close quote. Have a listen to a portion of that podcast.
It's funny you say this because, through social media, a lot of people after October 7th started learning about Islam.
They did, yeah.
And they said, okay, what is it with the religion that why is it so hated? Yeah. You know what I mean? Why are they being attacked all the time? So people say, you know what, let me learn about Islam. And there have been a lot of reverts through this whole process. I couldn't imagine, I guess when you're on social media, most of the feeds come through you. Once you see one, it just keeps coming. But the amount of people that are reverting to Islam is unbelievable, and they're just I guess through education, right? They're actually educating themselves and saying, what is it that Muslims are being targeted, and why are they being targeted? Let me learn about this religion. What are these accusations that they're saying about Islam, and let me learn about it myself and figure out, hey, is it actually true or not?
Yeah.
Why all of the interest in Islam and people converting and reverting to it? Simple. Muhammad is a false prophet that was given a message by a demon, convincing Muhammad to worship Satan, who revealed himself as Allah. Islam advances itself, as it has for 1400 years, by the sword, or through killing opponents, which is called jihad, forcing them to convert, taking them as slaves, and allowing them to peacefully live only if they pay a special tax, the jizya. This satanic false religion appeals to the sinful, fleshly desires of people who give way to their base desires and provide them with a special kind of spiritual slavery, promising them countless blessings in heaven if they murder non-Muslims here on earth. In order to advance Islam in seemingly more peaceful ways, Muslims engage in a sanctioned act of deception, taqiyya, to fool people into thinking Islam is a religion of peace, until they are in a position to overthrow existing systems and enforce their violent system of law, Sharia, and establish Muslim jurisdictions, or caliphates, all over the world. And just to be clear, Everything I have just stated is explicitly found in both the Quran as well as the Hadith, and has been universally accepted and practiced by Muslims for centuries. And the only reason why people would say otherwise is because they have either been deceived or they are engaging in taqiyya, that strategic deception to fool others. Well, there you have it, friends. You are all up to date. Make sure to reach out to our friends over at ROCKLINC Investment Partners to help steward your wealth. Head to mission.bullbitcoin.com/dispatch to take control of your finances today. Head over to ldcanada.substack.com to subscribe to our mailing list and support the show. Until next time, Galatians 5:1.